The set was unusually quiet that evening. The crew had already packed up, and the cameras were neatly tucked away, leaving only a faint echo of footsteps along the polished studio floor. Tan Songyun lingered in her dressing room, too restless to leave, yet too tired to move. It was then that her eyes caught something unusual, something that seemed so small, yet sent a shiver racing down her spine. A box. Perfectly wrapped, placed neatly at the edge of her desk, as though waiting for her. The wrapping paper shimmered under the warm light, tied with a delicate ribbon that was just slightly off-center, as though whoever placed it there had been in a rush. Her heart skipped a beat. No note on top. No card. Just the box. But it wasn't the gift that made her lean closer. It was the faint strokes of handwriting, written on the underside of the wrapping in a spot only visible when she tilted her head. A scrawled word, hastily written, almost as though the writer had been too nervous to notice he had left it there. And that handwriting, there was no mistaking it. Shukai. The realization hit her like a thunderclap. This wasn't just some casual gesture. Shukai, known for his stoic charm, his carefully measured words, and his ability to keep his personal life hidden even under the brightest spotlight, had left a piece of himself behind in that handwriting. She hadn't opened the box yet. Something inside told her not to, at least not now. The mystery of it, the anticipation, was already pulling her deeper than she expected. But what stunned her more was the way her mind instantly began replaying every interaction with him over the past few weeks. The way he lingered a second longer when handing her a script. The way his gaze followed her when he thought she wasn't looking. The awkward way he covered his laugh when she teased him on set. It was all adding up. And now, here was proof. That gift box was more than just a box. It was a confession, a silent one. She sat back in her chair, her fingers brushing the smooth wrapping, torn between curiosity and fear. If she opened it, everything might change. If she didn't, the air of mystery would remain, but so would the tension that was already eating her alive. Meanwhile, across town, Shukai sat in his car, parked in the shadows of a quiet street. His hands gripped the steering wheel tighter than necessary, his mind replaying the moment he left the gift on her desk. He hadn't planned to. Not that way, not so suddenly. But when he saw her step out for a quick rehearsal, the chance was there, and something in him just couldn't resist. He left it there, with only one thought: she'll know it's from me. And now, he was terrified of what she might think. Would she laugh? Would she see him as reckless? Or worse, would she never even open it? The truth was, Shukai had been fighting this battle with himself for months. Working alongside Tan Songyun had been both a dream and a torment. She had this disarming energy, warm, playful, but grounded in a way that made him feel safe. He hadn't felt that in years. So he wrote her name on that wrapping paper, almost unconsciously. A slip of the heart that betrayed him. Back in her dressing room, Songyun leaned closer, tracing the faint strokes with her finger. The handwriting wasn't bold, it was nervous, slightly uneven, as though written in haste. But that made it even more real. Her lips curved into a small smile she couldn't suppress. Suddenly, her phone buzzed. A message. It was from Shukai. Still at the studio? She froze. The timing was too perfect. Did he know she had seen the box already? Was he waiting for her reaction? With trembling fingers, she typed back, yes. Just about to leave. His reply came instantly. Don't stay too long. You'll get tired. It was ordinary. Too ordinary. And yet, layered beneath it was the weight of everything she wasn't saying, and everything he couldn't say. Songyun's eyes darted back to the box. She had to make a choice. The seconds stretched like hours as she finally untied the ribbon, her breath catching in her throat. She peeled back the paper carefully, almost reverently, until the box lay open before her. Inside was not jewelry, nor perfume, nor anything flashy. It was a notebook. Plain, leather-bound, but unmistakably personal. She opened it, and her chest tightened. The first page contained only one line, written in Shukai's unmistakable hand. Some feelings are easier to write than to say. Her breath hitched. Page after page was filled with short notes, little thoughts he had penned down during their filming. Observations about her laughter, her kindness, The way she cared for everyone on set. Things she never imagined anyone noticed, yet he had captured them all. It was like stepping into Shukai's heart. She closed the notebook quickly, overwhelmed. Her pulse thundered in her ears. What was she supposed to do with this? Should she confront him? Pretend she hadn't seen it? Or worse, should she lock it away and pretend it never happened? But one thing was clear. Shukai had crossed the line between colleagues and something far more dangerous. Across town, Shukai leaned back in his car seat, staring up at the night sky. He didn't expect her to respond tonight. He didn't even know if she'd open it. But deep down, he hoped no, he prayed that she would understand. Because this wasn't just a gift. It was a piece of his soul. The next day, on set, everything felt different. Songyun arrived earlier than usual, the notebook hidden safely in her bag. She spotted Shukai from across the lot, standing tall, surrounded by crew, laughing lightly at something someone said. To anyone else, he looked the same as always, cool, composed, untouchable. But to her, he was completely different now. Every glance, every smile, every silence, it all had a new weight. He caught her eye. For a brief moment, time seemed to freeze. His smile faltered, his gaze softening just slightly, enough for her to know that he was silently asking, "Did you see?" And she, with the faintest curve of her lips, gave him her answer. Yes. She had seen. And nothing would ever be the same again. But what neither of them knew was that someone else on set had noticed the gift box the night before. A member of the crew who had entered her dressing room to retrieve some forgotten equipment had caught sight of the unopened package, with the faint scrawled handwriting peeking out. And they knew. Rumors, like wildfire, were waiting for the smallest spark. Shukai and Tan Songyun were standing on the edge of something beautiful and dangerously fragile. One wrong move, and their secret would no longer be theirs alone. The unopened gift box had done more than reveal Shukai's heart. It had set into motion a story that neither of them could control. The room felt too quiet. The unopened gift box sat like a secret on Tan Songyun's desk, and though the ribbon was delicate and the wrapping elegant, the real mystery was hidden in something so small most people would never notice, the faint handwriting, nearly concealed under the folds of the paper. But Songyun noticed. She knew handwriting like a musician knows notes. And this one, this uneven scrawl, was burned into her memory. She had seen it before. Scripts marked with tiny annotations, sticky notes left on the dressing room mirror, and the occasional scribbled doodle when Shukai thought no one was looking. It was his. Her lips parted, as though she wanted to say his name out loud, but the sound never came. Instead, she pulled the box closer to her, pressing her hand against it as though she could feel his intentions through the paper. She hadn't even opened it, yet it already felt alive. Songyun leaned back in her chair, her thoughts spinning. Why would Shukai do this? Why leave it so openly, yet hide his name? Did he want her to know, or was it a mistake? She picked the box up and turned it in her hands. Under the soft light, the ribbon cast a shadow across her desk, stretching like a secret stretching too far. Just then, the door creaked. She jolted, nearly dropping the gift. Songyun, are you still here? It was her assistant, poking her head in. Songyun's instinct was to shove the box into her bag, but something in her stopped. Instead, she placed it gently back on the desk. Yes, she said, forcing her voice steady. Just finishing up. Her assistant smiled tiredly. Don't stay too late. Tomorrow's schedule is brutal. I won't, Songyun replied quickly. As the door clicked shut again, her heart still pounded. She reached for the ribbon but stopped halfway, fingers trembling. Opening it now felt too dangerous, too final, as though it would crack open something she couldn't put back together. Across the city, Shukai sat in his car staring blankly at his phone screen. He had typed and erased the same message 10 times. Did you see the gift? No. Too obvious. Hope you got home safe. No. Too casual. Good night. Too distant. He tossed the phone aside with a frustrated sigh. This wasn't like him. Shukai was a man who measured every step, every word. Yet now, because of one impulsive moment, he felt like he was standing at the edge of a cliff, waiting to see if Songyun would push him or pull him back. Back in her dressing room, Songyun finally stood. She couldn't bring herself to open the box tonight. She slipped it carefully into her bag as though it were fragile, not because of its contents but because of what it represented. When she got home, the night stretched on endlessly. The box sat untouched on her coffee table, glowing in the dim light like it was calling her name. She made tea. She flipped through her phone. She even tried reading a script. But every time, her eyes drifted back. At one point, she reached out, touched the ribbon, and whispered under her breath, "Shukai." The sound of his name alone made her chest tighten. She closed her eyes, memories flooding back, the way his voice dropped when he said her name on set, the protective way he guided her down slippery stairs after a late shoot, the unspoken glances they shared during quiet moments. Could this gift really mean what she thought it meant? Or was she fooling herself? The next morning, Songyun arrived early to set, the notebook tucked in her bag, unopened. She needed to see him. She needed answers, but how? She couldn't just confront him without exposing everything. When Shukai walked in, the world seemed to slow. He looked the same as always, calm, collected, with that unreadable expression that drove fans wild. But Songyun noticed the subtle signs, the stiffness in his shoulders, the flicker in his eyes when they met hers, the way his hand clenched briefly around his coffee cup. He knew. She knew. And yet, neither said a word. Instead, the day dragged on with rehearsals and retakes, their silence loaded with electricity. Every time Shukai moved closer, Songyun's heart raced. Every time she caught his eyes lingering, she felt the weight of the box in her bag. By evening, she couldn't take it anymore. She slipped away during a break and found herself in the quiet corridor behind the stage. Seconds later, she heard footsteps. Shukai. He stopped when he saw her, surprise flickering across his face. For a moment, neither spoke. Finally, Songyun broke the silence. Her voice was soft, almost trembling. "Shukai, the gift. It was you, wasn't it?" His jaw tightened. For a heartbeat, he looked like he might deny it. But then he exhaled, the tension leaving his shoulders. "Yes." Just one word. But it was enough. Her breath caught. She reached into her bag, pulling out the box. "Why didn't you say anything?" "Because I didn't know if I should." His voice was low, steady, but his eyes betrayed him, full of vulnerability she had never seen before. "I didn't plan to leave it like that. But I couldn't hold it in anymore." Songyun's fingers tightened around the box. "And the handwriting? You knew I'd notice." A faint, almost embarrassed smile touched his lips. "I hoped you would." The corridor felt suddenly too small, too charged with the weight of everything unspoken. Songyun wanted to open the box right there, in front of him, but something in her hesitated. She wanted to savor this moment, the fragile, trembling line between confession and uncertainty. "Shukai," she whispered, her voice barely audible. He took a step closer, his presence overwhelming, his gaze locking onto hers. "You don't have to open it if you're not ready," he murmured. "But I need you to know it's not just a gift. It's me." Her heart thudded in her chest, louder than the silence surrounding them. She swallowed, her lips trembling into the faintest smile. And in that moment, she realized something. It didn't matter what was inside the box. The real gift was the truth it carried, the handwriting that gave him away, the courage it took for him to leave it, and the silent confession that bound them together in a way words never could. For the first time, Tan Songyun didn't feel afraid of what might come next. Because Shukai had already given her the answer, hidden in ink, wrapped in paper, left quietly on her desk. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe for more unforgettable stories like this one.